Have you ever wondered what might be hidden behind the walls of your newly purchased home? Well, the family I'm about to tell you about learned this the hard way, and they wish they never had, because what they found turned their lives into a living nightmare. Michael Johnson, a 42-year-old engineer, along with his wife Sarah and their 8-year-old son Ethan, had finally found their dream home. Located in a quiet neighborhood in Salem, Oregon, this 3-story house, built in the 1960s, looked absolutely perfect from the outside. With its spacious yard, classic architecture, and affordable price, it seemed like a dream come true. "How did we get this house for such a great price?" Sarah had asked while unpacking boxes on moving day. "The previous owners needed to sell quickly. Lucky us," Michael had replied, though he himself found the situation a bit odd. The first week, everything was normal. The family was trying to adjust to their new home and arranging the rooms. However, at the beginning of the second week, strange things began to happen. It all started with Ethan crying in the middle of the night. The little boy said he was hearing strange sounds in the wall. "Mom, someone is talking from inside the wall," he said, his eyes filled with fear. Sarah and Michael initially considered this a natural reaction during the child's adjustment process to the new house. However, over the passing day, they too began to hear these sounds, especially during the night hour. These sounds coming from the living room wall were keeping the family awake. Michael thought these were normal sounds caused by water pipe until that Saturday morning, while Michael was checking the house's electrical system, he noticed a strange crack in the living room wall. This crack looked as if a section of the wall had slightly caved inward. "Strange," he muttered, placing his hand on the wall. At that moment, he felt that part of the wall was hollow inside. Excitedly, he called his wife. "Sarah, come here, take a look." When Sarah arrived, Michael showed her by tapping the wall that it made a hollow sound. "There's a void here, maybe an old closet or storage area from earlier time." Their curiosity increased. Michael immediately grabbed a hammer from his toolbox and carefully began to widen the crack in the wall. As the wall's plaster crumbled, an old wooden door emerged behind it. The door was small, approximately 2 feet wide and 2.5 feet high. It had an old, rusted latch on it. "What is this?" Sarah asked, taking a step back. Michael tried to open the latch, but it opened with difficulty due to years of rust. When the door creaked open, old, musty air came from inside. When he shined his phone's flashlight inside, what they saw made both of them hold their breath. Inside was a small room, approximately 6 feet deep and 5 feet wide. But what was truly surprising was what covered the room's walls. Every wall of the room was covered from top to bottom with writing, handwritten sentences in different pens and different colors. "They came March 15, 1987. The sounds won't stop. I can't take it anymore. Where are the children? Where did they go? Never trust this house. They walk in the walls at night. Get out of here." The last writing was written in red pen, in capital letters, and looked fresh. Sarah's hand went to her mouth. "Michael, what does this mean?" Michael was also looking at the writings in shock. "I don't know. Maybe the previous homeowner, or ... Just then, Ethan's voice was heard. "Mom, Dad, come quickly." Ethan had found another hidden door upstairs in his room, behind the closet in the corner of the bedroom. This door was even smaller and had only child size. "How did you find this?" Michael asked his son. "My ball rolled back here, and I noticed it when I was trying to get it," Ethan said, still excited. When Michael stuck his head inside to look, he saw that this room was also full of writing. However, these writings were in a child's handwriting. "Lily hid here, 12 years old. My family is looking for me, but I'm here. The dark man is coming. Help me." That evening, Michael visited their next-door neighbor, Mr. Henderson. At 70 years old, having lived in this neighborhood for 40 years, he might have knowledge about the house's past. "Mr. Henderson, who lived in this house before? What kind of people were they?" he asked. Mr. Henderson's face fell. "Are you asking out of curiosity, or did something happen?" "Actually," Michael began to explain the situation. After the old man listened to the story, he took a deep breath. "So someone finally found those rooms." "What do you mean, Mr. Henderson? Do you know something about these rooms?" "Son, 4 different families have lived in this house over the past 30 years. They all experienced the same things: strange sounds, midnight footsteps, children disappearing." "Children disappearing?" "In 1987, the Thompson family's 12-year-old daughter Lily disappeared one night. The police investigated but couldn't find her. The family couldn't get over that trauma and moved away. The Wilson family, who came after, complained about their 6-month-old baby crying at midnight. The baby acted as if it was talking to someone." When Michael returned home, he found Sarah in an anxious state. Ethan was sleeping in his bed, but Sarah didn't want to leave his side. "Michael, after the child falls asleep, strange things happen. It's like he's talking to someone in the room while sleeping. I can't make it out clearly, but it sounds like he keeps saying Lily." This name made Michael's hair stand on end. It was the name he had just learned from the neighbor. That night, the family gathered in the living room and waited. At exactly 2:30 a.m., the sounds began. But this time, there weren't just sounds, there were also footsteps, as if someone was walking in the upstairs corridor. Michael gathered his courage and went upstairs. The corridor was empty, but there was a faint light coming from Ethan's room. When he entered the room, Ethan was awake and looking at the small door in the closet. "Dad, Sister Lily is calling me," he said in an innocent voice. "Ethan, there's no one there. This is just an old room." "But she's there." there. She's showing me her games. Very beautiful games. Michael's heart began to race. He picked up his child and carried him downstairs. Sarah, pack the suitcases immediately. We're not staying here tonight. The family stayed in a hotel that night. The next day, Michael decided to do some research. He examined the city hall's old record and learned shocking truth. The house had been purchased in 1985 by its first owner, the Thompson family. However, during construction, the contractor had built hidden rooms that weren't in the house's original plan. These rooms had been built at the request of the house's former owner, Old Man Crawford. Crawford was an elderly man with mental problems who used these rooms as shelters for evil spirits. Before dying in the 1960s, he had written various spells and protective writings on the house's walls. After this discovery, Michael consulted a psychologist friend. The expert explained the situation as follows. In such old houses, especially when hidden areas are discovered, families can experience a collective psychological effect. The writings, sounds, and the child's reactions could actually be a psychological condition created by the house's atmosphere. Children are particularly sensitive in such environments. The family decided to sell the house. However, they thought they should mention the truth in the sales listing. They wrote their ad like this: "For sale, house with historical features, contains hidden rooms and period writings, ideal for history enthusiasts, may not be suitable for sensitive families." The house was purchased 2 months later by an antique collector who was passionate about money. The new owner said he greatly enjoyed discovering the house's history and hidden rooms. The Johnson family now lives happily in a modern apartment complex. Ethan remembers what they experienced as a great adventure and no longer has nighttime fears. Sarah says, "Sometimes houses may not be right for us. That's not a bad thing. It's just not the right timing." Michael has reached this conclusion. Before buying a house, you need to research not only the structural inspection, but also the house's past. Some houses have stories, and you must be ready to live with that story. 6 months later, the house's new owner, antique collector Mr. Stevens, called Michael. "Mr. Johnson, I solved the house's mystery. Those hidden rooms were actually air raid shelters built in the 1960s. Old Man Crawford had them built out of war fear. The writings were also notes from his war trauma. The name Lily was his missing granddaughter's name." After hanging up the phone, Michael smiled. The truth was always simpler, but sometimes there were things that had to be experienced to learn that truth. And so, the Johnson family had learned the most important rule to pay attention to when buying a house. You need to understand not only the house's physical condition, but also its soul. Because sometimes houses have more stories than we do. The biggest lesson to be drawn from this story is this: when moving to a new house, it would be wise to research not only the modern comfort, but also that house's past, because every house has a story, and you must be ready to live with that story. If you, like the Johnson family, are house hunting, don't forget this story. Sometimes behind the most beautiful looking houses, unexpected surprises may be hidden.